What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're watching this episode on the day that it's uploaded, we are currently on the 924S cross-country drive to Phoenix, Arizona, where I am personally delivering it to the giveaway winner. So before we get into the episode, I just wanted to let everyone know that the 924S Ludwick Garage shirts have been shipped, the first pre-order. But we're opening up another pre-order and we're doing pullover hoodies this time. Along with the pullover hoodies, if you didn't get a chance to get a t-shirt, the t-shirts are also available once more as well. This pre-order will run through the end of SEMA, basically the beginning of November when we get back from SEMA. I'm seriously so stoked on these shirts. It's one of my favorite ones we've done yet. So head to ludwicksgarage.com to order your 924S t-shirt, a pullover hoodie, or even one of the 924S cross-country trip keyrings that I make right here in the shop. Also, another big announcement, I finally started a P.O. box so you guys can send in sub mail. I know a lot of you guys have asked about this. Even back when I was putting out an episode a week on the podcast, a lot of you were sending me root beers to review on the episodes, which was super, super fun. And now that I've moved to Tennessee, I really wanted to get a P.O. box set up so you guys can send in sub mail and we can share all of that together and actually incorporate them into the episodes. So I've put the P.O. box address right here on the screen as well as in the video's description below. Now let's get on to the episode where we're prepping the 924S for this cross-country drive. Good morning, guys. Welcome back. This is probably, hopefully, going live on the Wednesday that we are starting day one of the cross-country trip in the Porsche 924S to Phoenix, Arizona to deliver it to the giveaway winner, Aoife Malone. So in this episode, we are doing some last-minute preparations on the 924S just to go over it and to make sure it's ready for the drive. There's really nothing alarming going on with the car right now. There's nothing that's making me nervous about the drive. We're driving it on the BBS RSs, on 205 40s. I mean, I'd rather not, simply because you don't have a bunch of sidewall. You don't have a big tire to protect your wheels. And those wheels are 1985 three-piece BBSs. And side note about these BBSs, I really kind of wanted to keep these because if you remember in the episode where I purchased the Porsche, I also picked these wheels up. And we noticed that the build date for these RSs are 1085. So the 10th week of 1985. I was born on the 10th week of 1985, which was March 8th. I think it was a Friday. We checked the calendar in that episode. These wheels may have been final assembly on the Friday I was born before the guys at BBS took the weekend off, which I think is pretty cool that they were made the week I was born. But they are going with the car. We are driving it in this form on the BBSs, on the custom air suspension that we designed with Bag Riders. I think it's ready. We're gonna get it on the lift today and just do a bolt check. Since I've had a lot of things out of the car, the whole rear end was out, torque tube was out. We've got a little under a week, but I've got so much going on in the shop. As you guys already know, just a few days ago, we took a full day basically to go to Atlanta to pick the W210 up, the new daily driver. I washed it last night and it is looking so good. I mean, with a full paint correction, Aiden, talking to you, bud. With a full paint correction, this car would look brand spanking new. And from 50 feet, it already does. I mean, come on, guys. This thing is just so good. So clean. Got the driving gloves in here ready to go. Maybe this winter we do some Ludwick Garage driving gloves, but look at this thing. Man. I'm so stoked to slam this thing and put it on the wheels. So to get the 924S in on the lift, I also want to do the wiper motor in it. Elliot Grafton from 944 Barn had a used one that was bench tested and good to go. So I want to get that in. Even though it's not going to the land of rain, it is going to the desert of Arizona. I'd like to get that put in. And luckily, it's not as involved as doing a wiper motor in a late model 944. The 924S had the early 944 dash in it. It should be relatively easy. I don't think we got to pull the blower motor and a bunch of stuff like that. But wiper motor, service check, bolt check. We do have to move the auto union out of the way since we've been working on this thing. And I've been filming, but the episode hasn't gone up yet because I ran into so much more work I had to do on this thing to get it set down over the beetle pan where I want it. I still have so much more cutting to do on the body. All right, so everything looks pretty good. Everything in the rear is still tight. Took a triple square and went over the axles again, because if you own a 944, you most likely have either found a loose axle in the car or you've straight up lost one, which we did in Kayla's 944 right in the center of downtown Chattanooga at a traffic light. Went to take off. I was driving and heard a loud snap and the car went nowhere. And bolts had just been backing out on the wheel side of, or the wheel end of the axle on the passenger side of the car. And there was like one or two hanging on for dear life. And I let that clutch out and the things just snapped. Had to crawl under it and had no tools with us, obviously. It's only a 5-minute drive into town from here, but obviously had no tools, and was able to salvage 3 bolts that were still in the flange of the axle and finger tight them in enough to be able to limp the car home. So from that moment forward, I keep an eye on these things like crazy. And although it was obvious in her car there was a noise coming from the rear end, we just hadn't gotten a chance to take a look at it yet to find out what that loose clanking sound was. This sounds super tight, but I wanted to put a socket on these nonetheless to make sure that they were tight, both on the transaxle end and the wheel end. But everything's tight in the rear end. Control arms, the whole rear end itself that I had out numerous times. I'll put some toe plates back on again. I might realign it at a higher ride height, since the majority of our time across the highway will not be at the height I drive it at on a daily basis here. We're going to be up a little bit higher to save this aluminum pan, which I've already scraped a handful of times. Doing motor mounts in this was crucial. The motor mounts were bad, and the motor actually hung down a solid 3/4 of an inch to probably a solid inch. And that was the lowest point of the car. And driving it low was just terrifying. So after doing motor mounts, I hugged the motor up about an inch. So that is about level with the subframe or the engine cradle. And yeah, so I want to make sure that we don't have that thing hanging down too low over the road, because I do not want to hit something in the road or a bridge expansion joint or something and blow the pan out in the middle of nowhere. But one other thing that is cause for concern that might not be an issue, but has surprisingly not been yet. The alternator pulley right there has been rubbing on that coolant hose. And you might be able to see it on camera, but there's a little rub mark next to that pulley on that coolant line. And it doesn't look deep. It hasn't worn like a groove in that coolant line, but it's obvious that they've come in contact with each other at some point. So I'm gonna lower it back down and see what I can do about maybe loosening some clamps and twisting that line and just getting it to bend out of the way of that pulley. That way, again, when we're heading across Texas or New Mexico, the temp gauge doesn't start to run hot, and it's because we've worn our way through that line. All right, so it's this coolant line here that's rubbing on the top of the alternator pulley. So it's basically the bottom of this line. The MAF and the air filter and all that kind of blocks your view, but it's being guided by this mount here, just kind of like a support guide for it. Since it's a pretty long sweep, this kind of holds it up. I'm gonna bend this up and away just a little bit to kind of help pull it away from that pulley. All right, so kind of bent this bracket in a little bit to pull it away from the alternator pulley. And over here, because I pulled it in a little bit, this elbow got real close to the edge of the bracket for the hood latch, and it was a real sharp corner. So I rolled that edge in right there. I rolled it in so it's nice and smooth now. It's not touching, but if it did, it's not hitting that sharp edge of the metal. It'd just be sitting against the actual wall of it as it rolls in. So that should be good. Pulley should be good. Well, aside from topping off the coolant, I think we're pretty much ready to go. I mean, everything looks pretty good. Now we're gonna do the wiper motor. because we might hit rain on the way there. We're not supposed to. Extended forecast is close enough now to when we leave, which is just giving me heartburn. So much to do. But we're going to put the wiper motor in just so it's got working wipers. So Elliot sent me one. Apparently it's good. All right. Even threw in a sticker. Looks correct. Mounts in just like so. Right there. And as you can see, that's pretty easy to get to. All right. Well, that could not have been easier. Everything's 10 mil. It's literally just the press-in harness and then 4 10 mils. You got 3 that hold it to the car, and you got a nut that holds the actual wiper assembly linkage to the spindle of the motor. I didn't bench test it yet. After looking at how this one came out, it was so easy that we'll just get this in, plug it in, and see if it works. All I know is that 944 and 924s are infamous for bad wiper motors. You can YouTube it. There's all sorts of information out there. So I'm assuming this one's bad, and I acquired another one. They are expensive. They're really expensive. They're like $500 in some cases. But I got this one used from Elliot for a pretty good deal. We'll get this thing in, and hopefully we'll see these wipers work for the very first time. All right, guys, the moment of truth. Okay. Did I seriously take the keys? Oh, I did. I took the keys out. Oh. All right. Let's do this. Yes. Yes, we've got wipers. Oh, awesome. Now, I think that's off. Is that intermittent? All right, so sorry about all the beeping. I was more focused on the wipers than I was the beeping. But it looks like I might have an issue with my stock as well. So if I turn it up 1, it doesn't do anything. If I go up like just a little bit more, we've got a decent speed. If I go up 1 more, it doesn't feel like it gets faster. It might. I think between the 2 problems, at least we have wipers now. At least we have wipers. That's kind of all I care about. If there's another issue with the stock, then so be it. But you can drive yourself through a rainstorm now. So I think the whole key is to just get it and park it, and that's it. All right, one more thing down. We're ready to go. Also, it should be noted that since we're not going with the factory phone dials, we don't have room for them. I wanted to bring a spare. There was no way I was going to drive cross country all the way to Arizona on 205 40s on 3-piece 40-year-old wheels, almost 40-year-old wheels, without a spare. So even though the spare tire tub is taken up with the hidden air suspension management, I did have the original 1987 spare tire. Now, if you guys know what these look like in Porsches, they're folded in. The sidewall is folded in underneath the tread, and the tread is almost at the top of the rim of the wheel. And that thing had not been inflated ever. I put about 30 PSI in this thing a week ago, and it's been sitting here holding air. So even if it starts to leak with a load on it, at least I know it could get us off the highway if we've got an issue with a tire somewhere. But I'm also gonna sacrifice one of my old little Harbor Freight low jacks. These are like $99. We're gonna take one of those. I probably won't mail it back. I'll just buy a new one when I get back. I've done this before. Like every cross-country road trip I go on, I end up taking the oldest Harbor Freight $100 jack I have, so I don't have to rely on a Widowmaker or some scissor jack OEM nonsense. We have air fittings, thanks to Zach at Bag Riders, who re-upped me on quarter-to-quarter PTC fittings. So we got plenty of those. Gonna bring some line cutters, just in case we melt or rub through an airline somewhere. We shouldn't, but we'll have a few of these where we could repair a line. I'm gonna bring some 1/4-inch line with me. Boy, I don't. We're getting close, guys. I think we're pretty close. Well, that's it for this episode, guys. We are on the road as you're watching this. Cannot wait to hit the road in the 924S. I think she's ready to go. Thank you guys so much for following along on this journey. The journey's not done yet. I think the biggest part of the journey is going on right now on the cross-country trip. Really hope to see you guys in Dallas at BMP Tuning Wednesday the 25th, which this video is going live on that day, 6 to 8 p.m. The address is on the screen. Saturday, October 28th, the In-N-Out Burger at this address in Phoenix, Arizona. We're going to be there with another pop-up meet. We're going to have the Porsche 924S shirts, the key rings, and a handful of other Ludwick's Garage merchandise available. If you're in the Dallas area or in the Phoenix area, I really hope to see you guys there. Also hope to see some of you guys at SEMA, because from Phoenix, we're going straight to Vegas to be at SEMA for the whole week. So really hope to see you guys there. Remember, the Porsche 924S Ludwick's Garage hoodie pre-order is going on right now throughout our trip. Once we get back from SEMA, the pre-order will be over and we'll get those orders in. So this is a one-time opportunity to get a pullover hoodie of the Porsche 924S shirt before the car is gone and all the merch is done. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you out on the road or here in the next episode.